Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we're recording the handicap analysis video here. For those new to the videos, I do my analysis videos. I also do some review videos and handicap analysis videos. Now, handicap analysis videos are where I look at the handicap marks, the new marks that have come out, and see if I can spot where horses might be heading next. And why I think they should be heading to certain races and races that I think they would have a much better chance in. So it's trying to get ahead of the game, really. So we will start off with Aberama Gold, who has dropped now down to a really, really low mark. Aberama Gold is now rated 84. Bearing in mind, this time-ish last season was rated nearly 100. So has dropped, £16 over the course of a season and a bit. And mainly because it hasn't had its ground. It wants soft, heavy going. Now, the last couple of runs, it has had its ground. Off marks of 85, and I just feel the horse can't keep up over 5. To be fair to Aberama Gold, a lot of his runs do come over 6. We can see that occasionally he drops to 5. Now, he was able to win a race at Doncaster over 5, but that did come on heavy going. But if we go back further, probably his best performance ever was winning the Stewards Cup off a mark of 95 on heavy going over 6. So it was heavy going and it was 6 furlongs. He can't keep up over 5. When he steps up to 6 and he gets the ground, I think it'd be very interesting. Even his last 2 runs over 5 have demonstrated that he should get, he should be much better when he goes over 6. He's always been finishing strongly, particularly last time out at York, where he was right out the back and just ran on under pressure into 7th place. He'd still beat a few. There was 17 in the race. He just can't keep up over 5. So where do I think they will go with him? I think there's a real obvious race for him, and that is this one here. So it's a 6 furlong race. It's for horses rated 81 to 100, so rated 84, he just about gets in. It's over 6, as I said. He does have some Doncaster form. He's actually won over 5 on heavy over at Doncaster. So the 6 furlong trip at Doncaster I don't think will be an issue, and I think that's where we've got to see him next. He's also got a second back here over 6. Who was that behind? I'm just having a look on my other screen. He finished 3rd as well, behind Tanmawi. Where's that? That's down here, but he's got a second somewhere at Doncaster. He was second to Woven on soft. Was that in a handicap? It was. That was off 84. I think he would go really close off 84 over 6 furlongs if he runs on the 9th of November. It's got to be where David O'Meara has got to be looking, surely. I think if he turns up here, he goes off. I'd like to hope we can get some decent rivals in against him so that we can get a price about him. But I think he would run a really big race there at Doncaster over 6. Moving on to the old boy, Euchen Glen, who is 11 years old, and he dropped another pound to 90. That does mean, again, he's another horse that this time last year was actually rated 100. Yes, he was. He was rated 100, so he's dropped £10 from then. That came after finishing 4th behind Al-Karima Ascot, which was back here. This race here, he moved up to a mark of 100, over a mile and a half. Now, I've always had this horse down as being a mile 5, a mile 6 specialist, but he's dropping so low in the weights now that he could go and get competitive over a mile and a half. And I think he kind of demonstrated that even last time. He's down to a mark of 91, and he ran a really good race, finishing 4th behind Bolster, Stress Free and Valvano. Probably the right 3 horses in front of him. Just didn't have the pace. If he can keep up next time, I think he will go really well. And it's probably going to be his last run next time, I would imagine. He's 11. There's no point keeping him in training as a 12-year-old. How can you send him out on a high? Go to Newbury for this mile and 4 race. So it's a mile and 4. It's for horses rated 71 to 90. So he will be essentially the best horse in the race. And I think he'll also be the best handicapped horse in the race. And it's over 1 mile and 4, so it's a little bit further. And if we actually go back through his form, we can find that he's got a win to his name at Newbury. This one here, look at this. He's got a win over 1 mile and 4 on heavy going. Let's have a look at that race. It was the Group 3. So the Prava Stakes, when he beat Natural History and Litigator. So he won a Group 3 over course and distance that I'm now just asking him to win a handicap. And I really think he would go really close in this race at Newbury on the 25th of October. And I'd like that to be his final run. He's, you know, he deserves a break now. He's had, that would be his 79th run. He's won 13 times. Could he end with 14 wins to his name? I think he could if he goes to this race at Newbury on the 25th of October. Moving on to Navagio. Now, Navagio's dropped £2 to 86. He's a horse I really like. And I don't think things have quite worked out for him yet this season. Despite running some decent races. He's finished 3rd in a Lincoln. He finished 5th in a decent handicap at Ascot. And 2 runs ago, he actually finished 3rd of 8 in a handicap when meeting a couple of unexposed types in Flying Finn and Dashing Darcy. Now, he does continue to drop in the handicap, bizarrely. He's dropped from 96. His 3rd at Doncaster in the Lincoln was off 96. He's now down to 86. 86 would be vulnerable to getting in the Lincoln again. That would be my concern if the connections go, we want to wait and run him in the Lincoln off a very, you know, good mark, £10 lower than what he ran in this year. The form has done alright. Alpha Crucis, who was 4th, has actually come out and won a couple of times recently at Goodwood. So I think because they're a syndicate, they're not going to be aiming and targeting a race that far off. I think they will come out and they'll run him at Doncaster on the 25th of October in this mile handicap here. It's for horses rated 76 to 95. So rated 86, he's right smack bang in the middle pretty much. It's not a Lincoln. It won't be a Lincoln like quality race. He's back at Doncaster where he's arguably ran his best race this season when he was 3rd behind Mr. Professor and Latam in the Lincoln. I think he would go here with a massive chance, wouldn't he? And potentially win that and then turn up at the Lincoln. You know, even if he won that and turned up at the Lincoln next season off a mark of 90, 91, he would still potentially be £5 lower than this year. Off the back of a win, knowing he loves Doncaster, they might, you know, really plan and plot to get him there fully fit, and definitely get in the race. I mean, the more I talk about this, the more obvious it feels to me that he's got to run here at Doncaster on the 25th of October rather than waiting for the Lincoln itself next season. Moving on, we have our final flat horse in this list, and that is the Green Man, who disappointed last time out. He finished last of 21 at York in the Sprint Trophy behind in the race that we had Strike Red. An eye catcher from that race was the runner-up Room Service, who just wants to go up in trip to 7. But the Green Man has now had 3 relatively quick runs in September, October and October, as you can see. And I just wonder whether that's to get him fit. He hadn't run for 358 days. You can see that he went from September 2023 to September 2024. Nearly a whole year off the track. He's come back. He's had 3 quick runs. And I think it's all about getting him fit. What race would you be looking at then? This race here. It's a 6 furlong handicap. Is that also the one I like, Aberama Gold? It's the same one as Aberama Gold. Very often, I think I've got perfect races for them, and they don't turn up. If both of these turn up, I'd probably back on both, the Green Man and Aberama Gold. But it's a similar story with the Green Man. So he's rated 82 now, so he would just about get in this. For horses rated 81 to 100. Back at Doncaster. The last time, or 2 runs ago when he won, in terms of not his last win, but the win before that, actually came at Doncaster. That came off a mark of 82. He beat Live in the Moment that day. and he got there on the final stride. We were actually on him that day. He's got some decent form at Doncaster. He's also got a third to his name back at Doncaster, over 6 back here. His only disappointing run actually came at the end of last season when he was running off 94. He got well beaten, but as I said, that was off 94. He's now down to 82. In 3 runs, he's gone from 94. He returned rated 91. He then went to 89, 86, now 82. He has been given a huge chance by the handicapper if Doncaster has been the plan. And actually, if we go a little bit further back, he's got another win to his name at Doncaster. So he's got 2 wins, a third, and an unplaced effort off a £12 higher mark. This looks obvious to me, this 6 furlong race on the 9th of November. But I can find obvious races for so many horses and they don't turn up. It's very, very strange. I think there are a lot of trainers that need a lot of help with placing their horses. So they are the flat horses. If you've got no interest in National Hunt horses, you can switch the video off now, because now we're going to move on to our National Hunt horses, starting with Lord Snootie, who has dropped £1 to 126 over fences and also 126 over hurdles. Now, I'm interested in him over fences because he's now over fences. He's now been sent chasing. I thought it was disappointing at Chepstow, but he didn't jump very well. He was very, very slow at quite a few of the fences and clearly needs more work. I'm hoping they go away and they work on his jumping for the next few weeks before returning to Aintree on the 9th of November for this novices handicap chase over 3 mile, 210 yards. Now, he's been to Aintree. He finished second. He split Gwenny May Boy and West Balboa that day, who I believe were both very well handicapped. Johnny Who was 4th, Monmoral was 5th. I mean, it looked a very good race. Lord Snootie finished second off a mark of 125. Well, off a £1 higher mark, 126, over fences, in what's probably not going to be as tough a race, a novice limited handicap, I can't see why they wouldn't run him here. And hopefully, as I said, in the next few weeks, they get him some experience over fences in terms of at home. They get him really schooled well, and I think he could come back and run a much better race next time out. Christian Williams' horses also didn't run particularly well over the last few days, and it's very possible that Lord Snootie needed the run. Moving back over hurdles, we then do go back over fences in a minute, but back to hurdles for the time being. We're looking at Liari. Liari dropped £1 to 130 after his 3rd place finish at Chepstow. Now, Paul Nicholls has said that his horses are a couple of weeks away, as in before they really kick on and get going. Now, I think that was evident that Liari was going to disappoint when he went off 9-2 for what was, it was a good handicap. It wasn't an amazing handicap. It didn't feature loads of Irish horses as well. We've got to remember, he went off 9-2 2 runs ago for the Boodles. The very, very competitive handicap at Cheltenham, where the Irish dominate anyway. And he went off 9-2 that day. Paul Nicholls reckoned he was really well handicapped that day off 134. He's now down to 130. And he probably needed the run last time. So give him that run. I want to see him step up in trip next time. I actually want to see him go for a race that they can win and then kick on. And I think they could win this race here at Wincanton. It's over 2 miles, 3 furlongs and 179 yards. I think he'll stay further, for sure, in time. He's been running on much softer conditions and running well. And some of his French form also kind of suggests to me that he will stay further. It would be for horses rated 0 to 130. He is 130. It's for 3-year-olds and older horses, so obviously he qualifies there. And it's at Wincanton. He's also been to Wincanton and he's won. He beat Inside Man in a juvenile hurdle by 3/4 of a length, and he won it comfortably, and they were well clear of the 3rd place Whispering Royal. Now, the runner-up, Inside Man, actually did come out and win afterwards in a novice hurdle himself. And yeah, I can't believe that Liari won't stay a bit further. And if he does, this race for me looks perfect for him. He would get in. He wouldn't have to carry a lot of, or he would have to carry a lot of weight in terms of the race, but he should just be too good for him. It's back at Wincanton that he's won at. I don't see any negatives about running Liari here next time on the 21st of November and then really kicking on with him. And yeah, even if he goes up, £4 or £5 for winning at Wincanton, he could still be well handicapped. Paul Fair, he was well handicapped off 134. So even if he won and went up 5, he would still only be a pound higher. So that is Liari. We then stick with the Paul Nicholls theme, and we look at Afadil. Now, Afadil stepped up in trip to just shy of 2.5 miles for the Silver Trophy. He didn't need to. He didn't need to step up, and I don't think he wanted to step up. And I just wonder whether they stepped him up with the hope that they might get him dropped a few pounds. And if they did, it worked. He dropped £3 to 127 from 130. Now, his 130 mark, he had finished 5th in the county hurdle for 130. He finished 3rd at Aintree in a feature handicap of 130, and he finished 4th in the Scottish Champion Hurdle. No, it is the Scottish Champion Hurdle, which is a handicap off 130 over 2 mile. Okay, he disappointed once at the end of the season, but that was his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th run of the season. Maybe it was just too many. With Paul Nicholls suggesting that his horses need the run as well, that £3 drop could be very, very useful, and very, that could have been a bit of an overreaction from the handicapper. Where do I think they should go with Afadil? Well, I would go for this handicap here. It's the Seat Unique Handicap Hurdle over 2 mile at Ascot on the 2nd of November. Why? Well, he's been here once before, and he actually finished 2nd. Who did he finish 2nd to? Blue King de Roo. He got beat by 2 lengths by Blue King de Roo when he was running off a mark of 121. So he's only now 126. So he's up £6. If he reopposed Blue King de Roo, he would be getting £17 because that horse, Blue King de Roo, is £23 higher now. He's rated 150, whereas Afadil is only rated 127. So, he bumped into one, didn't he? Clearly bumped into one that day. Interesting that it was Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. So Harry chose Afadil over Blue King de Roo. Yeah, I mean, this looks really, really obvious to me that they've got to go for this race at Ascot. It's decent prize money. It's a 60 grand total pot. It looks obvious. Afadil, drop him back in trip. Now he's got that run under his belt. He'll be much fitter in about 3 weeks' time. Hopefully the Paul Nicholls horses are running to form then. And I would expect him to go really well at Ascot. Moving on to the next horse, and that is Tritonic, who has also dropped £3 to a mark of 135. Now, I think this horse is actually one of the worst campaigned horses around. They don't know what they're doing with him. He wants 2 miles over hurdles, and I would actually like to see him go back to Ascot for that same race as we would have Afadil. Again, they're not going to both turn up, just because I don't understand trainers and owners. It'll probably be this one that is sent somewhere else because they have really weird ideas with what they think is the best trip, and I don't think they know what they're doing with Tritonic at all. Why do I want him over 2 mile? Well, first of all, his last win actually came over 2 mile. We then go back. His only other win over hurdles, or recently, was over 2 mile. Back here at Ascot, 2 mile, 2 mile. So he's, what's that, 4 wins over in the National Hunt Sphere? 1, 2, 3, 4 wins in the National Hunt Sphere, all of them over 2 mile, and yet they keep running him over 2.5, and they keep running over 2.5 on the flat. I mean, he's never going to stay that far. I just don't get it. Why would I therefore run him at Ascot over 2 mile? Well, as I've just mentioned, that is his best trip over hurdles. He also won this race back in December of 2021 at Ascot over 2 mile. And when he won that day, he was beating One More for the Road relatively comfortably off a mark of 141. He would run, as I've said, off 135, £6 lower mark than when you won a race at Ascot and won a better race than what you're likely to face. Granted, they might come back for the December one, but even then, in my opinion, what they should do is go for this one at Ascot on the 2nd of November. If you win it, what are you going to go up? £5, £6, £7? That would still only put him on the same mark as what he's won this race before anyway. So it's not like he's suddenly £7, £8 higher than what he's ever won off. He would still only be £1 maybe higher than what he'd actually won that race off. So it's not like you can, oh yeah, but we're waiting for that race at Ascot in December. No, go and win the race in November first and then come back in December and try and win the Betfair Exchange Trophy. So that would be my plan with Tritonic. Moving on to Enrilo, who has dropped £2 to 130. Now, he disappointed at Chepstow, and I know Paul's horses weren't running well or needed the run, but this was still a disappointing effort in the veteran stayers race. Maybe it's just not far enough. We can see that some of his most recent runs have been over a bit further. 3.5 mile here, 3.5 mile, 3 miles 7 when he was second, although he was beaten a long way that day. He was beaten 21 lengths by Inishaw, but Inishaw was the 9-2 really well supported favourite that day. But then at Taunton, this was the run that I kind of feel was his best effort recently. He was third behind Broken Halo and Las Galen. That wasn't a bad run. Paul Nicholls actually won the race with the Harry Cobden-ridden Broken Halo, and Enrilo ran well for a long way. That came off a mark of 134, only just, 3 runs ago, over a suitable trip. He then went to Sandown for a competitive Bet365 Gold Cup, and he wasn't good enough for that. He looks to have lost his way. He's not as good as he used to be, for sure. He needs to drop in class, and he needs to step up in trip. Well, there's your race. It's a drop in class. It's down to a 3. For horses rated 0 to 130, he's rated 130. It's up in trip to 3 miles 6, and it's back to Exeter, where he has run and won before. Please tell me that that's just not an obvious one for me either. He beat Darlac and Red River that day, and he won comfortably. He was rated 140 that day. That was only a novice chase, but he still won it comfortably. So go back to Exeter, go back up in trip, drop in class, and win this race at Exeter. Moving on to another Paul Nicholls horse, Il Rodotto dropped £2 to 138. This is obvious. This doesn't take any working out. He's going to be running in the Paddy Power Gold Cup next time out on the 16th of November. Why? Just look at his form at Cheltenham, over 2.5 mile. It's very good. 4:16.3238p. His one in January of 2023 actually came off a mark of 138. On that day, he was beating Fugitive, and I believe Fugitive then came out and won next time out. I'm just going to check that. Where is it? No, Fugitive actually then went to the Magnus Plate at the Cheltenham Festival and finished second off a £6 high mark. So, the form was really good then from Il Rodotto. Il Rodotto winning it. Fugitive was second. Surely that's what he's going to do again next time. He's going to come back for that race at Cheltenham, and I would imagine he will run a really big race in the Paddy Power Gold Cup. There might be a few that could do that. We will also be looking out for the likes of Krabilly, maybe the King of Ryehope. We'll have a look to see who's entered in that. But that's surely what they do with Il Rodotto. And the final horse in my list is Flegmatik, who disappointed at Chepstow, finishing 7th of 10, beaten a long way off a mark of 142. Now, I actually thought they got it wrong with this horse last season. He went to Kempton and he won. And maybe they thought, well, we're not going to win on that day, because they were actually taking on Chianto Classico that day, how he therefore got beat off a mark of 142, considering he's come out and won off 143, and a feature handicap at Cheltenham is now rated 152. Maybe Dan Skelton thought we'll still get beat at Kempton, so nothing to worry about. They didn't get beat, they won the race, and then they went for the February version of the same race, and he finished 4th. Now, he finished 4th, rated 140. The difference in prize money between these two races, though, the race in January and the race in February, 85 grand to win the race in February, 18 grand to win the race in January. They got it wrong. They shouldn't have won that race in January. If they turned up off 137, considering he only got beat by 2.5 lengths, I think he would have won. I really do. I think he would have won that day. So with that in mind, now it's it went wrong last season. Maybe they're going to try it this season. They're going to wait before returning to Kempton. Now, he's dropped down to a mark of 139. If they can find him another race, which he finishes mid-division and drops another couple of pounds and ends up rated 137 and comes for that race in February, I would imagine he would go very close again. His 3-mile form at Kempton is brilliant. You know, he did run in that race in February 2 years ago, finished second off a mark of 135. So that's kind of where they wanted to be. But having won that race at Kempton in January, it probably just put paid to his chances come February, when he was only able to finish 4th, still only beaten 2.5 lengths off a £3 higher mark. He was actually off a £6 higher mark because Tristan Durrell didn't ride and didn't claim the 3. So, you know, if he'd been rated 137, I think he would have won, personally. And I'm hoping that they work back from that race this year, rather than winning races en route. So they are my horses from the handicap analysis this week. I will add chapters to the bottom of this video in the description, so that you can skip to any horses that interest you, or skip back if you've got this far to any horses that really interest you.